to turn it over to Eric. Eric is with the Center for Teaching, Research, and Learning, and he's going to be talking about additional research resources.
I'm going to close the laptop a little bit here. I don't quite look over it as well as the prior speaker does. I'm really pleased to be here to represent CTRL. For those of you who don't know about CTRL, it's a rather unique unit. I've been on a lot of campuses, and this sort of thing doesn't exist on most of them. On most campuses, you would find something like a Center for Faculty Excellence. And in fact, CTRL used to be called the Center for Faculty Excellence, and it still has a lot of the functions you would expect with that. We have an online learning group that supports teaching of online classes. We have a teaching and learning group that supports classroom design, curricular design, learning objectives, syllabi, use of technology in the classrooms. We put on some wonderful events on campus. The premier one is the Ann Farren Teaching Conference, which has on average between 500 and 600 people who attend, almost all of whom are from the AU community. And for a campus this size, that's an incredible event. What we have that you don't find on most campuses, which is most of what I'll be talking about today, is our research support group. And this group supports a broad range of research all over campus. There is an emphasis on sort of quantitative software-driven research, but there's also a lot of support for qualitative research, for online survey research, and a lot of aspects of what we do that would be relevant if you're thinking about grant proposals. In order to help this out, I've cleverly arranged that in your packet, there are two handouts related to CTRL. So if you look at the back behind the program, you will find one little foldy flyer that looks like this, and one full-page guide that looks like this. Starting with a folding flyer because it's quicker. This is our standard handout for our workshops. And so in our advertising, our workshops are often our most visible item. You can see if you open it up that we're offering around 30 software workshops this year. These are places where you and your students can come to get training. Exciting for this year, or at least exciting for us. If you look at the end of that list, there are advanced workshops that we're offering. These are half-day and all-day training opportunities if you want to get a crash course in a new research software. Standard plug out of the way. The more interesting flyer for you guys is probably this full-page support for faculty flyer. So we'll give people a second to get to that. So even though the majority of what we advertise are our workshops, the majority of the support we actually give is in drop-in and prearranged research support that's focused around a particular project. In addition to being able to drop in and ask questions, we have an online request form where faculty members can request blocks of our consultant time. So the research support group has 4 full-time faculty members, all of whom have PhDs, all of whom are research active or have been heavily research active in the past. In addition, we have a small army of graduate student consultants, the majority of whom are advanced PhD students who have incredible research expertise and software use expertise. We support the virtual computing lab, which allows you to gain access to research software off-site. We also have the ability to install a wide range of research software on various machines, AU-owned computers and sometimes faculty-owned computers, depending on the licensing for that individual piece of software. And we also support the high-performance computing cluster, or HPC. And the HPC is basically AU's own little supercomputer. In which you can register, get an account, and then you can put projects into a queue and have them run on the high-performance cluster and get your results out. We have support, in addition to all the major quantitative software programs, SPSS, Stata, MATLAB, Mathematica, SAS, Python, R, which is increasingly popular. We provide a lot of support to faculty members for NVivo, which is the premier qualitative research software. And we're also the center point for support on Qualtrics, which is a professional online survey software. And it does some things better and smoother than something like SurveyMonkey, but also it meets all of the IRB requirements for protecting data and things like that. So if you're thinking about doing an online survey and you don't want to have to figure out what the security options are in whatever program you happen to find, you can just tell them we're using Qualtrics on the AU server. Aha, it passes. In addition to that, I'll mention just as a small plug, we also, another service we offer for faculty is coming into the class and doing in-class tutorials. So if you're a faculty member and you want to have your class use Stata, but you're not really great with Stata, often this happens when you're really great with some other program, but your department has decided that you're using Stata. We can come in and help give a 1 or 2 class sort of crash course for your students. We've also had faculty members who came to us with more specific requests. For example, somebody who wanted to start doing genetic analyses with R, and they'd done plenty of genetic analyses, but they wanted to try it in R for the first time. And we created a custom workshop to help get them and their students started on that. In terms of thinking about grants, I put a special back on the page just for this. You might have seen this hopefully sitting around teachers' lounges or mailbox areas or something like that. The back is for here. I tried my best to break down how you might be interested in our services relative to the different phases of the grant-making process. In pre-application, we're available to support different softwares, to understand analytic methods, to help plan out research projects, to plan out the implementation of that research using different types of software, the pros and cons of using different programs. We're available to help with assessing and using the high-performance cluster. And one of the things that I wanted to add is, in addition to training, is training for you and your research assistants. So if you wanted to create a customized training for your lab, if you have a number of new graduate students who are coming in and perhaps they don't know the particular software common in your lab, you can send them to us. We can help with that training. You can arrange a special session to bring your lab in and get training. During the application process, the creation of data management plans, analysis, appropriate softwares. One thing that is striking that a lot of people don't give more attention to is the matching of data collection methods with analytic methods. So often we have faculty members who come to us after they've gathered their data, and they come in and they explain to us then the analysis they want to run. And we need to sit there and dig through their data and figure out if that analysis is even possible given the way they collected their data. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Usually we can work with them and troubleshoot some reasonably similar analysis to what they planned. But it's really awesome when faculty come to us ahead of time and we're able to work with them to ensure that that all lines up. And then when they come back later, we just say, oh, well, here's the analysis we planned, and look, it works just fine. There are some budgeting requests that might be relevant. So if you're using the high performance cluster, and people in the back who review these proposals, if anybody is using the high performance cluster, we got the cluster through a grant with NSF with the help of a number of faculty members. I believe Mary Hansen took the lead on that and was wonderful. The grant requires that if you're going to use the HPC and you have funding, you put in a small pittance to help support the maintenance and upkeep. I believe it's $1,000 flat rate if you have a grant. In addition to that, if you know you're going to need a large amount of RSG support, perhaps for the analysis or things like that, we ask that you work with us to try to figure out what an appropriate fee for that service would be. So if you don't have funding, if you're looking for small amounts of help, that's basically just what we do. I mean, people come in and we help them. If, on the other hand, you're thinking that you might need 50 hours of our consultant time doing analyses in Mathematica, that's kind of a different matter. especially if you have funding available, and some of it could support that. So we're not a free full-time research assistant, if that makes sense. In addition, one thing that we've had people slowly start to do, but I'm really hoping will increase in the future, is coming to us before the grant to write letters of commitment regarding services. If you're going to use the HPC, I'm not sure why you wouldn't have a letter of commitment from us that describes what the HPC is and what type of support we do. If you're going to use a software you're not familiar with, you want to use R for some analysis that you haven't done before, I'm not sure how it could hurt to have a letter of commitment from CTRL explaining who we are, what we do, and the type of support we can give you for that package. Certainly not something that is required, but I don't see how it could do anything but help. And of course, post-application, we can do any of these services as well. I should mention, I guess, a couple of other units on campus that have related things they can help with. There is a math stats consulting center. They have some of the same services we offer. We are all open, by the way, if you caught it on the hours on the package. For you or your students, we have 60 in-person hours a week. We close at 8:30 most weekdays. We have 7 hours on Saturday. The math stats department does offer some fairly similar services for 2 hours on Friday. And they have very, very good people who work there, and if you pre-arrange with them, you can meet with their master's students and faculty members who support them outside of that time. But it's a smaller operation. If you like them better, no hard feelings. In addition, the library recently hired a specific ArcGIS support person. So previously, geographic analyses had been housed in CTRL, and now we're sort of phasing support for ArcGIS and spatial analyses over to the library. At this point, you can come work directly with us. That's still fine. You can go to the library and look for Megan Snow. She's also wonderful. And they have their own geographic analysis lab. If you're looking for geographic analyses in the traditional programs we support, it's probably still with us. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know that was a pretty rapid sort of stream of information there. Yes?
So I don't know if this is for you or for OSP. I've been on leave for a year, so I don't know whether the university has routinized this yet, but you have on here assistance with a data management plan.
Mm-hmm.
So National Science Foundation requires data management plan on applications. Does the university now have a common procedure for doing that, or is it simply as PIs are putting together their data management plans, you all are available to help?
So the question was about data management plans and whether or not the university has a standard method of dealing with those. Data management plans are increasingly asked for by most funding agencies, but I know NSF has, in the last couple of years, just flat out required it. At this point, I don't think there is a standard service, and in part, I think it's because the way the data needs to be managed varies a lot from grant to grant. We are available to help with that. I'm not sure if anybody in OSP is really a specialist in that, other than making sure, since it's a required item, that there is in fact a data management plan. But it might be something that we work on trying to figure out in the future.
Is there the ability to create a website here, post it at AU, to post data to after a project's over?
So for data sharing, there are some systems for data sharing after you've gathered it. I don't know the details fully on that, but I know that such systems exist here at AU. Did you want to?
I was just going to say, because of the issue that each person's project is so different and how they are collected is different, we don't have the standard. We do check it to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements for the NSF or NIH, that you have that section completed and completed in the way that we would best get funded, but we don't tell you, this is exactly how American University manages data, because it can be so different. There is a way
was a task force on campus talking about whether there'd be the ability to post the data somewhere so that the university could be the entity that satisfies the data management plan. And I guess what I'm hearing is that hasn't gone anywhere.
I believe that the library does have a piece of software designed for that function. I'm not sure there's anything requiring you to use it. I can look that up and get back to you on that. But again, it really tremendously varies by project. Some projects have data that's confidential. I mean, one of the things we've also done for a lot of faculty members is build data islands for them. So if you need a computer that the USB ports don't even work on it, so that you can put it in a locked room and, behind another locked door with nobody having access to it. I mean, that data might or might not ever go up on a data sharing system, but that's still, all of those things have to be specified in the management plan. Any other questions? Way in the back.
Hi. Are these programs described on your website?
The question is,
Programs that are familiar to me so much. I'm at Washington College of Law, and there are types of sponsored projects are quite different. But it could be that some of this could be very helpful.
so the question was whether there were descriptions of the different research software packages that we support on the website. If you go to the CTRL website, then there are descriptions of all of these, as well as descriptions of whether or not they're available for installation on various computers, on personal computers, faculty computers, etc. As well as some of our sort of sample training documents that we do with them. And we actually have come out a couple of times to help people over at the Washington College of Law, although it's a little bit rarer. We're definitely, you're part of the community, we're absolutely available, and we love being able to go out and support you guys.
Great, thank you.
Eric, I have a question. From your vantage point in CTRL, what do you think are the emerging issues in your area over the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
Ooh, I suppose you're probably more interested in research support, but I'll tell you that a couple of emerging issues that are not related to research support first. One is that we're trying to take a bit of a lead role looking at ways that classrooms and curriculums are being redesigned over more active learning activities, over more participatory learning, and we have a number of programs related to that in our noontime series and key speakers at the Ann Farron event and other similar things. In addition, one of the major projects that we're working on that is a theme for a lot of university units is trying to figure out how to provide the same type of in-person support we do as close as we can for the growing number of online American University students. So a lot of the units on campus, the Writing Center, the Career Center, are trying to figure out how to make that balance. In terms of research support specifically, there are a lot of challenges in terms of the changing face of American University regarding research. So research for the last 8 to 10 years has been an increasing priority. And so we're transitioning from a situation in which, it really was possible, even I'll say 8 years ago on this campus, to actually know by name every really research active member on this campus. I mean, you could walk around and probably talk with them in a day. And the emphasis on research has increased tremendously. Faculty are coming in with much more knowledge about what they want to do, how they want to do it, and adjusting our support to be able to push and support that higher level of faculty member and their research projects has been interesting. We've, for example, I think Mark knows this, we're working right now to double or possibly triple the number of MATLAB licenses available around campus, because before we had 5 MATLAB licenses for all of campus and it was plenty, and now we have faculty members coming in who would love to have 5 copies just for their lab. And so trying to figure out which things to push further, which things to pull back on is, I actually think it's fun. to try to make those adjustments, but it has been one of the challenges.
Thank you. Thank you. Any final questions for Eric before we break? Okay, thanks a lot, Eric, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, and looking forward to seeing you.